Tiny Tarot, hey, hey, what have you got to say today? I am low-key magical with a K, aka Christina Smart, and I am here with the podcast master, Earl. Earl, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. How are you today?
There's Earl, yes. Everyone is doing very well today. I am happy to hear about it. So is Tiny Tarot. So is our podcast. It's doing better on YouTube and on Spotify all the time, thanks to you, the listeners. So I want to remind you right now to please like, share, subscribe, and look us up on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, sometimes on the TikTok if you're lucky. I love our spinning little logos that we've been having here. They're wonderful. And I also want to remind everyone that's listening today that tarot is not a replacement for therapy. This is more of a good conversation with a close friend. So please do not take crazy action based on a tarot read. We've got all of the nice little disclaimers in the official places, but you know how to be responsible and how to listen responsibly. We appreciate that you are here today. And Tiny Tarot, let's get started. What are we talking about today? And today's topic is one that we face quite often, disappointment. So let's say that you had a plan, had something awesome in place, and then it turned out that things did not go the way that you thought they were going to go that particular day, that particular week, that particular event. And what do you do with that? Do you hold on to that and say, this must mean that I'm doing something wrong? This must mean that my spiritual practice isn't really what I should have meditated more, silly things like that. We think there's something that we have to appease in order for things to go exactly our way. And we're starting to learn it's not that way at all. When you are manifesting, when you are creating, you put that creation out there into your future, but then we have a tendency to want to draw those lines. It's going to go exactly like this. It's going to happen on Wednesday. I'm going to win my lottery exactly on this particular date. And when it doesn't go that way, we get a little bit disappointed. Does that mean that that's never going to show up? No, it just means that the map that we drew was not accurate. The timing that we put on the universe and what are we doing putting timing on the universe may not have been quite so accurate. So today we're saying, Tiny Tarot, hey, hey. Let's say that we've had a bit of a disappointment. How are we going to work through that? What are the things that I need to look at to keep myself from being, too impatient? I think that's a big part of it. But disappointment, how do we look at disappointment? How do we reframe it? How do we keep from experiencing it so much? That would be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah. All right, so Tiny Tarot, hey, I have divided this deck into 3 equal piles, 1, 2, and 3. And hey, Earl, the podcast master, I would like you to choose intuitively pile 1, 2, or 3 today.
I'm feeling 3.
Really? You're feeling 3? Hey, we
Yep.
haven't done a 3 in a while, so let's get this moving. Tiny Tarot, hey. What have you got to say today about disappointment? And the very first thing that comes up, goodness, Earl, how often have we gotten this card? It's the Justice card. Wow. And the Justice card is all about balance. So I'm going to hold this up to the camera just for a moment. We're going to look at justice. It's all about balance. So first of all, I've noticed that justice is sitting in between 2 pillars. And the 2 pillars, when we see it in that archetypal tarot artwork, represent being in that perfect balance between order and chaos. The threshold of the home often represents that place that is in between order, what we consider our home to be, what we can control, okay, the place where we feel safe, and chaos, the outside world. And justice sits right here in between chaos and order and keeps these scales maintained. And what do we know about justice? Is if those scales somehow get out of balance, what always happens? They go right back into balance. That's what justice is. Now, we put a label on that and we say, well, until those scales are balanced, this is unfair. Now, that's our perception of a situation. And I'm thinking of that immediately when we think of disappointment. When we feel like something hasn't happened the way that we wanted it to go, we see those scales as immediately being unbalanced. And where does the universe always want to keep things in balance? So the very first card says, disappointment isn't really a natural state for you to be in. Disappointment is a process that is happening because you have decided that the image that you have put in your head does not match what you're seeing in front of you and therefore is bad. And one of the things that we know about creation is that there's that little click you have to make where technically none of this is bad. All of creation is good. I'm just choosing to put a label on it in this moment because it's not what I want to see. But the universe says, now come on, remember. And Tiny Tarot says, come on, remember. Even if you're not feeling that great right now, even if something didn't quite go in your favor the way that you wanted it to, those scales are always going to balance out. You're just torturing yourself with that feeling of disappointment that you don't like. Well, thanks a lot, Tiny Tarot. Like, that's the first thing. First of all, you've got to be a little bit easier on yourself. And sure enough, guess what comes out next? It's the devil. I feel like we're seeing some of these same cards because these are some of the same things that we need to work on. Let's just think about that. The devil is anything that we have given more power to than what it really deserves and what it really does have. So we're talking about habits that have gotten a little bit out of control for you, possibly. The next word, because normally I say habits, it's jobs, and Tiny Tarot immediately says expectations. What expectations have you put around your own neck that are causing you with this devil to feel like it is much heavier than it started out with? So anytime we have the devil, if we look at that, we have the devil up here in the background, okay? And he has an inverted, this is one of the things I haven't pointed out before. He has the inverted pentacle at the top of his head. So now remember what pentacles, we're not going to, it's devil imagery. No, well, we're showing the devil. So yeah, maybe a little bit. But we're taking that pentacle, that very healthy, wonderful symbol that we have for the things of the earth that give us comfort and strength. And the devil in this imagery has taken that and turned it. So all of those things that you felt were giving you comfort, helping your heart feel better, right? This is just a little thing that I drink at night, or this is just a little whatever it is you were doing that you thought was a help to start with, turns out to be something that kind of takes you over and is more than what you anticipate. It feels like it has more power over you than what you anticipated. So we talk about habits, or we talk about a job that started out as your dream job that suddenly is becoming way more of an impact on your life than what you realize, maybe negatively. But we're looking at this, and immediately it said, look at that inversion, okay? So what you thought was going to be good for you suddenly isn't anymore. And the word was expectations. When you set up these huge expectations for yourself, and then something doesn't quite go the way that you wanted it to, baby, that's really you. Have you seen that image of the kid on the bicycle and he sticks the stick in his own spokes? Yeah, that's kind of you doing that to you. So having lofty goals is completely okay, but putting those unrealistic expectations on yourself, like I have to lose 50 pounds in 7 days, hello, that's not you setting yourself up for anything except disappointment. So let's think about that for just a little bit. Sometimes the disappointment is the unrealistic expectations that we put on ourselves, on others, and on just the creative process in general. And some of that is that, I don't want to say exaggerated expectation, but here, I'm just going to give you an example. So I love to write music and I love to sing, and I would love to do more of that in my life. That's going to happen. But if I decide that in 30 days I have to be as famous as Beyonce, right? That's not really going to go the way that I want it to go, right? It's just, that's an unrealistic expectation that, yes, right now I can sit down and write a song. I can record it. I can do something that I'm very happy with, and I can feel satisfaction in what I just made, because guess what? That is a complete process, a complete creative process where I had a desire, I took an action, and I had something on the end, and it's beautiful and wonderful. But if I look at that and go, yeah, but I'm not Beyonce, so this is crap, and I put it away. Do you see what you've just done? Because of your expectations that were not really realistic in the moment, in the path that you are on, you take something that you create that could be beautiful and wonderful and so many other things for you, and you throw it in the garbage because it's not Beyonce. Now, do you understand what I'm saying? That's where that devil comes in. It makes you even look at the disappointment and setting yourself up with ridiculous expectations. And when I say ridiculous expectations, now you may have some dreams that people around you go, yeah, that's ridiculous, but you know what I'm talking about. Everything the next step that you take is always the next obvious step for you. And when I'm working on music, the next obvious step right this second is not moving to LA and, hooking up with Jay-Z and doing all that stuff so that I can become Beyonce. No, the next step is what's right in front of me, working on my guitar, working on my recordings, working on what I want to do, okay? But if you set yourself up with these unrealistic timelines and things for yourself that even inside this probably can't happen I probably can't get 75 pounds off within the next 20 days, then you're just setting yourself up for that disappointment. And when that disappointment comes and you start going, oh, that's something I don't have any control over. It's just taking control of me. And no, because if you had been a little more reasonable in understanding the steps to your goal, and that you don't take the next step until you are energetically and physically and every other way ready for that step, and that step does not present itself to you until you are ready. So if you're thinking, well, I think the next step should be here for me on Thursday, and it doesn't show up, and you are disappointed, and you decide to give up on your dream, now what have you done? You've just taken that beautiful thing that you made, and you've thrown it in the trash because it didn't happen in your timeline. Now, to me, this sounds a lot like, when you're taking care of a toddler or someone really young and you disappoint them in some way. Maybe it doesn't even make sense to you and they just throw a big old fit. And that's kind of the way that we come across. I think that's not Tiny Tarot's opinion. That's my opinion. But I feel like when I get I didn't get my way and I'm showing disappointment, that it's a little bit like being a toddler and throwing a fit because it didn't go exactly the way that you wanted it to go. Now, here we have next a page of wands, and this is absolutely perfect because the wands represent what we're doing in the world. And the page is setting out on, this is a new thing for me. This is a new endeavor. It's something new that I want to make. Okay. And of course the wands wind up leading to the pentacles. We have the swords that are ideas, the cups that represent what's in our heart. The wands are the work, the action that we take because of that. And then the pentacles are what we wind up creating for that. And so the wand is, I've been inspired. I have this new idea. I'm going to do this new thing. And this is how we always start out. This is pre-disappointment because the page is incredibly excited. What comes next is the knight in the suit. But the page isn't a knight yet. He's on his way to being a knight. And he's very excited about that. And he's got fresh new ideas and fresh energy. And what we talked about before is this is the kind of energy, yes, that will attract the antagonist, okay? When you do have cool things that you want to do and what you want to create in the world and ideas that are different, of course it creates those pop-ups that say, are you sure you want to do that? Don't look at that and say, this is now something else for me to be disappointed about, because not everyone around me is completely in lockstep with me. And maybe not everyone around me even understands 100% what my ideas and what my goals are. And I'm having trouble even just communicating that to other people. Oh, it's so disappointing. Why can't you see my dream the way that I see my dream? The page of wands said, look, it really doesn't matter if the people around you understand or completely get what you're doing or not. Don't let that be a disappointment to you, first of all. You understand your dreams and what you're moving for better than anybody else. So don't let anybody else ever. It'll be their job. They feel like it's their job. They care about you. Are you sure this is what you want to do? Do you feel like maybe you're too old to do this? Or maybe you don't have enough money to do this? Or it's going to take a lot of time to write a book or whatever it is you're planning to do? Don't let those automatic pop-ups and other people's resistance against the change that you're trying to do in your life, don't let that be a disappointment to you either. Those are actually signs that you are on the right track. Because if everything around you was constantly, oh yeah, that's great, go for it. Oh yeah, that's great, go for it. Oh yeah, are you really pushing the boundaries that much? I mean, you really know when you're changing things, when you meet what we talked about with Stephen Pressfield, and I keep quoting the same books, but they're so good, in The War of Art, is that even internally, you're going to experience that same type of pushback. Do you really want to get up early and work out? Do you really want to write another chapter of that book today? Do you really want to put a video online of yourself playing guitar? Somebody might think you're weird. Do you really want to put yourself online reading tarot cards? Those are the same things that come up for me. We've got to learn how to push against that. The fact that we are encountering that is not a sign of failure, and it is not a sign that you should start feeling disappointment. It's a sign that you are breaking new ground. You're in an area that you haven't been before. You're going to get some pop-ups. You're going to get some warnings. Maintain the Page of Swords energy. Maintain your excitement. Remember the reason why you're doing this in the first place. That's another Page of Wands, is don't forget why you're doing the work in the first place. And understand that there's going to be some stuff that you haven't seen before, aren't good at yet. Allow this stuff to come up. It doesn't mean disappointment. Again, spiritual enlightenment, being good at what you do and being on a good path does not mean that you're not going to encounter obstacles, that you're not going to have pushback, and that you're not going to have disappointment. That's like saying, if I take a hike tomorrow and I walk for the next 2 months, I will not encounter any weather. It's going to be sunny every single day. It's never going to be cold. That's not the case, because that's not how it is outside. There are weather patterns. There are ups and downs. There's sunny days and cloudy days. It's the same way with the project or with any of your intentions that you want to manifest. You're going to have great days where you feel like it could happen any second. And you're going to have days that are a little bit more cloudy, where it feels like maybe you took a couple of steps back. Don't judge that. Of course, hone your process. If you feel like it's time to hone a process, yes. But don't let disappointment halt your progress. Ooh, that's really a big part of this. Yay, yay. And then we get this confirmation. This is a Page of Cups. So we're in the same situation as the Page of Wands. Starting out on something brand new. The Page of Wands is ready and anxious to take action, even if he doesn't really know what the action is yet. And the Page of Cups is all about excitement, because this is what he loves to do. See the little fish popping up in the cup there? It's a bit of a surprise. Oh, and that's why we're doing what we're doing, is to have those moments where something new comes in, whether it is a new realization or a new idea or a new song that you wrote or a new recipe that you came up with or a new meditation that you put online. Like that moment of excitement, and then that ability to go, yes, this is what I want to do and this is what I'm going to take action on. That is like a huge inoculation against disappointment. So that even if someone does come up to you and say, look, I know you're all excited about this, but it turns out that we're not going to be able to get the studio at this time. And it turns out that we're going to have to reschedule a couple of these things. And it turns out that, maybe blah, 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 for whatever reason. And you immediately, the thought is to go, what did I do wrong? Why isn't this going the way that I want it to go? Why? How have I been bad? What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? And what this is telling us is the way that you inoculate yourself against that moment, you can see it, feel it, go ahead and feel it. Oh, this isn't what I wanted to do today, but I do know that I have the energy and the excitement of what originally put me on this path to draw upon at any time. And no one can take that away from me. And no one can disappoint me to a point where this is suddenly no longer there. It may even mean that I've got to pull the map out and completely reroute a few things. Guess what? I'll do it, because I know whatever that final path is that gets me to where I'm going, it's going to be exactly the path. And how do I know that? Because I can look back at other times in my life and see where things went in my favor when I did not expect them to. I can see every miracle that led me to this point. So why can't I have a little faith that those same miracles are going to be happening for me all the way down my path until I get to not only what I was planning for myself, but even more. The universe always gives you a couple of extra scoops of what you weren't expecting. And that's another thing that this Page of Cups says. You may get disappointed, but you may not understand that what's coming for you can be even better. I mean, look at what's in that cup. Oh, it's this little fish. And he didn't even expect that to be in there. Like, not only was this something that I really love, but what I thought was a disappointment turned out not to be a disappointment at all. It put me on a slightly different path, and I wound up in an even better place. And I can tell you, So many times in my life, it has been that way, where I got all down because I thought things had not gone in my favor. And now I look back and say, actually, they were. Actually, what I thought was a disappointment led me to something better. When we know that that's behind us, why can't we just anticipate that for ourselves moving forward? If we know that it's been nothing but good things. So how do we, okay, so Tiny Tarot says, how do we draw on that? And we get the Star card. Oh, I love this card too. I don't think we've had the Star card much in the reads here. The Star is about doing what is necessary for you to cultivate your own balance and foster your own internal intuition. And I talk about the Star being the things that you do, say, how you treat yourself when no one else is looking. Do you see that the image there, that person is naked? And it's another one of those where there's a foot on the ground and a foot in the water. It's a lot like temperance. The Star card is a lot like temperance in the imagery. And then we have these two vessels, one's being poured out on the ground and one's being poured out. It's almost like I'm filling one as I'm emptying another one. I keep this one filled here while I pour this one out on the land. I make sure that I am replenishing myself at an effective rate that I am also giving of myself. That's a big part of this. And why the Star? Because it's like those things that you do when no one else is around. You're not doing them for anyone else. You're not doing it to perform. Look, everybody, at my great self-care. It's not like that. How are you really treating yourself when no one else is around? Okay? Because that is how we foster the ability to be kind to ourselves and to be kind to the process when a moment of disappointment comes. You are prepared. You have already given yourself everything that you need from what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So let's say maybe it's a career, maybe it's raising a family, whatever it is that's important to you. You have reasons why you are doing that, okay? And you need to have those reasons well sorted out. Is it because, do you get up in the morning and you take the extra time to exercise and you do this, you do your meditation? Are you doing it because you know that this practice is what makes you your very best self so that you come to the world with full authenticity and strength and creative power? Or are you doing this because somewhere in a book I read that if I get up early and I meditate, that I'm going to create XYZ and my life will get better? Here I go doing it. Okay, not because I really want to do it, not because I really understand how much it benefits me, but because I'm looking at this like a recipe book, like 1, 2, 3. Get up in the morning, do your exercise, meditate. Where's my stuff? Like I have met people that really have looked at a process like this way. It was more of a means to an end. I want to be Beyonce, so I have to get up in the morning and do this and this and this, and no, I don't want to do them, and no, I don't like doing them, and no, I'm not really feeling the benefit, but this is what I'm supposed to do. Okay, that is completely different from working with the Star. Because with the Star, it really, when I say look into my heart, I am honestly taking time and looking into my heart. When I'm trying to figure out what I need from myself, because if I'm doing all this to get outside love and attention and gratification, and I like people looking at me and giving me the likes, or else I feel like I'm nothing, that is not the same. That is not the same as saying, I'm doing all of this because I love it. I'm doing all of this because it makes me my best self. And I want to be my best self when I show up for it. So I'm going to, when no one is looking, when no one's taking score, there's not somebody with the little notebook saying, how many self-help books did you read and how many times did you meditate this month and how many? No, I need to be able to look at myself when no one else is there and say, yes, I am happy with where I am. I am happy with who I am. I know that I'm enough. I know that I'm doing enough. And I know that I'm exactly where I need to be on my path to me getting better and better and better all the time. It's not that I'm a piece of crap, and I'm not going to even allow myself to be loved or to say that anything is good or positive until I get that thing. Okay, the star says, really, hon, you're going about it completely backward. What you do is say, I'm giving myself all the love I need. If I feel like I've missed it, I'm giving it to myself. I'm giving myself the time I need to create what I need. I'm giving myself some patience. I'm giving myself, right? All of the things that you would be saying to a very best friend or one of your children if they were in a moment of disappointment or in preparation of something big that they were going to do. Honey, have you gotten enough sleep? Have you been eating well? Are you getting up and exercising because you want to and you know that it makes you feel better? Or do you think someone has this expectation of you and they won't love you if you don't do these things? Sort that out. The star card says sort out that inner stuff and work on your intuitive part. That way, when you get out in the world, and this is one of those things that happens when we experience disappointment a few times in a row, we become vulnerable to those people that can recognize that in us and want to take advantage of it. Okay, so let's say we're getting a little desperate because I feel like, oh, my career hasn't really gone, or this project hasn't really gone the way that I want it to, and I feel like I'm not doing enough, and I'm starting to get desperate, and then suddenly someone says, hey, I'm a Nigerian prince, and I have $5 million for you if you'll just, and because of your, oh my gosh, I'm so desperate and I feel like I'm doing everything wrong, you are more likely to get taken advantage of by someone that recognizes that frantic, I'm not doing enough energy. And the star card helps you become bulletproof for that, because when you know that you're on the right path and you know that you're doing the right things and you do feel self-fulfilled and you're not wallowing in disappointment and self-pity, and someone swoops in and goes, hey, if you give me a big pile of your money, I can do all this for you, you're way less likely to go, oh yeah, okay, sure, I'll do that. Sure, that's exactly what. No, you're much more likely to say, thanks, buddy, but I am on the right path. I'm doing exactly everything I need to do. I feel fantastic right now, not even disappointed, because I know maybe this doesn't look like what it's going to look like in a couple of years, but this is the story of how I did it. Right now, I am writing the story of how I became XYZ. I am writing the story of how I created XYZ. And someday, someone's going to be coming to me to ask me how I did it. And I can be the one that says, give me $5,000. You know what I'm saying. Don't let your own lack of faith in yourself and your own process and your dream. Thank you. Tiny Tarot's reminding me, just have faith in this message, because I am one of those people too that I will bog myself down with disappointment, feeling like I haven't done enough. I should have started this so long ago. I get more negative pop-ups than, we're all in this together. We're all experiencing this together. But keeping that original Page of Cups, this is why I'm doing this. This is what I love to do. I know I'm on the right path. I am taking care of myself. I am not listening to people that put down my process or my ideas. I am not getting artificially attached to other people who have the plan of taking my dream and then doing something with it, or just taking advantage of me because I have a desperate energy. No, I am even, and I am confident, and I know that the next necessary step will present itself to me in exactly the moment that I'm ready for it, and not before. And that's where we get really impatient. But if we can lock all of those in, oh, this is so good, Tiny Tarot. Here we go. If we can lock all of that in, it turns everything in our favor. Look at this Wheel of Fortune. This is such a fantastic piece of imagery. I love this. It says tarot all the way around it. And it basically shows all of these powerful images, the griffin and the dragon and an angel. And it's that energy of the universe that, oh gosh, it goes perfectly with this Justice card. I just realized that. That Wheel of Fortune has to turn. It never does stop. So even when we feel like our view is something that we might not want to be experiencing right now, maybe give it some time, because that wheel of fortune always turns. And this is what this is saying. You get this lined up. You understand what your devils are. First of all, understand that the universe always writes itself. It just may not look like you're there yet, but you will be. Secondly, look at what has been causing you more pain than it should be. Where have you been setting yourself up with unrealistic expectations or being much harder on yourself than anyone else could ever be on you? Oh my gosh, that's a big part of the devil too, is that you are the one sitting there abusing yourself a lot of the times. And the Page of Wands and the Page of Cups say, don't forget why you started this in the first place. Keep that energy moving. Don't let anybody else pee on your parade, okay? Even in those moments where it feels like you have bumped into a wall, give yourself a second. Take a breath. Remember why you started all this in the first place. Remember to take care of yourself, even when no one else is, even if no one else has the appreciation for everything that you've done and how hard you've worked and what it is that you're trying to create. Be that support for yourself. Give yourself what you need to be your best self every day, and do that for the right reasons, not because someone else is expecting it of you, but because you know this is what you need. Physically, spiritually. You've got to be 100% yourself inside, and then you've got to let your body be supported as well so that you can be 100% your whole self when you are taking those actions with those wands. And the wheel of fortune will turn in your favor. It's almost saying, look, you put all those pieces into place. Disappointment is now a non-issue. Disappointment is just one of those little pop-ups that says, do you want to continue? This may not be the best direction. Do you want to check your map? Do you want your GPS? Hey, by the way, you might want to take a U-turn. This might not be the person that you want helping you. This might not be. You can say, yes, you know what? I realize this is always turning in my favor because I've got all this other stuff lined up. And when I have everything else lined up, and I'm being easier on myself, when things are not looking, that's the whole deal. Looking. We are making an observation. And in that moment, we're saying, I don't know if this is going the way I wanted to go. Disappointment. No, that is temporary. Disappointment is temporary. You put all these things into place. It makes you bulletproof. It makes you a lot safer because you are much less likely to get taken advantage of over your dream. And we know a lot of us have had that happen more than once, and we don't want that to happen again. But most importantly, it brings us to the knowledge that what we're creating is inevitable. It may not look 100% like we have drawn it out to look in our mind, but we know that it's coming. We know that feeling that we've been trying to foster of confidence and satisfaction. Such a big one. Satisfaction. And then the moment when you do see what you have been calling forth coming towards you, feeling that gratitude for that already, that gratefulness, all of this energy here lines you up for that perfectly. And according to this final card, moves the wheel of fortune in your favor. Do not let the temporary moment, that temporary emotion of disappointment in any way derail you. The only way you fail is if you just completely stop. I've learned that myself. Have I done that more than once? A couple of times, but thankfully, I've always gotten back up and kept going. Yes. Tiny Tarot says, do not let disappointment derail you. There's no reason for that at all. Well, that's fantastic. I am happy to have gotten this message today. I am Low-Key Magical with a K. I want to say thank you to Earl, the podcast master, and Toy Robot Productions for another great show. So thank you guys so
You're
much.
welcome.
Tiny Tarot, hey. I am Low-Key Magical with a K. Have a magical rest of your day.